What's good, y'all? We only officially got into the offseason a few days ago, and it did not take long for teams to already make blockbuster trades. As I'm sure you guys already know, the Phoenix Suns and the Washington Wizards agreed on a deal to send Bradley Beal over to Phoenix, along with Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd. Meanwhile, going back to Washington is Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, several seconds, and several pick swaps. Those were the exact words that Woj used when he broke the news. I don't know how many of those seconds, what years those seconds are going to be. Same thing with the swaps. I don't know how many swaps, what years the swaps are going to be. But that's the haul that each team got. I'm going to start by talking about the trade from the Phoenix Suns perspective. And when you look at a big three now that they have of Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal, all I see is just straight buckets, guys that can get their shot off over anyone at any spot on the floor, whether it's getting to the rim, getting to the mid-range, getting fouled, going to the free throw line, shooting threes, catch and shoot off the dribble. These guys are professional scorers. Some of the best scorers in the league, ISO, off the ball, whatever. A lot of these guys, they will find a way to score on offense, and having three of those guys on your team, it gets dangerous. Most teams don't have three above average perimeter defenders, and when you're trying to stop any of these three, whether it's Book, Beal, KD, any of them, you're going to need at least an above average defender, or most of the time an elite defender. And like I said, not every team has three of those guys, so at least one of them is going to have a mismatch, a below average or average defender that they can exploit. And it's good because both KD and Bradley Beal have had plenty of experience playing off the ball. Bradley Beal, back when he was playing with John Wall before his injuries, that was obviously more earlier in his career. But, that's where he kind of got his name going as kind of a spot-up shooter, get off cuts, different things like that. He can play off ball. Obviously, Kevin Durant, he's played with countless of great on-ball guys and has been fine with it. Won championships with the Warriors, playing off ball with Steph Curry at times, playing with Kyrie Irving, Russell Westbrook, whatever it is. He's played with a lot of ball-dominant guys, so he's fine playing off the ball. Devin Booker probably has the least experience playing off ball, but, back when they made that championship run, when Chris Paul had a little bit more, legs to him, he did play off the ball at certain times like that, and then early in his career as well. So I don't think it should be an issue with sharing the ball with these three guys, because all of them are, a big threat when they don't have the ball, and then when they do have the ball, you can stagger minutes too to let each one of these guys each have their own, chance at being like the number one option for a few possessions, or however you want to call it. And the thing that I'm most interested in seeing personally is Devin Booker running some point guard. Now, in my opinion, I think he's kind of underrated as a playmaker. He's had seasons where he's averaged almost 7 assists, back before Chris Paul came along, and obviously he's one of the greatest point guards of this generation of all time, so he's going to be, doing most of the playmaking. Devin Booker, though, don't sleep on him. He could definitely, he's a willing passer. He's able to pass out the double team or just set up different guys from his scoring gravity of driving to the basket, knowing when to kick it out and different things like that. And unless they sign some guys or maybe start campaign if they bring him back, I highly doubt it. I think they're going to be running point guard Devin Booker. I think it could be really, really cool. Bring a new dynamic. Also, they would be running pretty big. I know Bradley Beal is only, I think, 6'3", 6'4", but still Book is 6'5", KD obviously at 6'11". They could have potential to be running a really big lineup, potentially to match up against Denver's big lineup. I don't know. Maybe that could be what they're doing. Don't get it twisted, though. There are some negatives to this trade. I'm not grading it an A+. Wait till the end of the video to see what I actually grade it. The biggest issue for me about this trade is between Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, and Bradley Beal. I'm going to put the exact number on the screen right now, but they have more than $130 million combined to just those three guys. You add DeAndre Ayton, who's making another, I think, like $36 million, and that number skyrockets to almost $200 million in 4 players. Now, when the Phoenix Suns got eliminated, a lot of people were just either slandering Kevin Durant and Devin Booker off rip, just saying that they suck or whatever. Obviously, that's not the case. A lot of other people were saying, that they didn't have time together, which, that was my take on it. They had 7 regular season games and then just were like, all right, we're in the playoffs, go try to win a championship. It's not going to happen. They had no chemistry, no nothing, whatever. Now, throughout they're going to have a full regular season to play with each other, get acclimated with, again, Bradley Beal and stuff like that. But the other big issue with that Phoenix Suns team in this last postseason was their depth. They had no depth at all. They had Terrence Ross sometimes check into the game, then Landry Shamet would check in, TJ Warren would come in, Josh Okogie. They didn't have a set rotation because a lot of their guys were just kind of the same bleh. Obviously, this trade doesn't help them with their depth but they are going to still have to fill out the roster and have competent basketball players playing for them. So they're going to need to sign cheap minimum guys that kind of overplay their contract. Guys like Josh Okogie, who was pretty good for them this season. Damian Lee, who was shooting the lights out earlier in this season as well. And then let's call a spade a spade. They're going to have to get some ring chasers onto their roster. That's going to sign for the vet minimum. That's going to sign like super cheap deals to just try to win a championship. And that is way easier said than done. But I do think some guys are going to at least want to play with their, you have amazing guys like Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal that you're playing with. You're gonna be left open. The defense is gonna be focusing on them. You're gonna be left open. If you're a good shooter, if you're a smart player, you're gonna be able to, work around that. Another option that I've been seeing around Twitter with Suns fans is to trade DeAndre Ayton to get more depth, which again could work. Kind of just separate that money a little bit. That $36 million, instead of being in one player, can now separate into maybe 2, 3 if you're lucky, but I doubt that. More likely just 2 players. Just kind of, try to round out the whole roster before you just spend all your money on your starting 5. And then looking at it from the Wizards' perspective, they finally committed to the tank, which I think, and I'm sure a lot of you guys also think, is finally like what they have to do. The Wizards have just been in the same tier of just mediocrity forever, it feels like, where they're, as high as like the 6th seed, and then they're as low as like the 12th seed. And in that range, that's where they're sticking. No, nothing higher, nothing lower, just in that range. I think it's good that they can finally commit to the tank and, run Denny Avdija, who had a very good second half of the season after they got rid of Rui Hachimura, freed up minutes for him. He's had a very good season that he could just step in and play more on ball like he did back when he was playing in, I believe it was in the Israeli league. I know he's from Israel, but I think it was an Israeli league before he got drafted. He was more of an on-ball, like point forward type of guy. Hasn't had that opportunity in the NBA yet, so I'm very excited to see him do that. They also got guys like Johnny Davis, their lottery pick from last year. He had a very rough, to say the least, a rough rookie season. He can now get some actual PT minutes and just work it out the hard way. And then also, they can finally get a high lottery pick. Their highest lottery pick since 2013 was 9. They had 9 twice. I think it was for Denny Avdija, and then I'm forgetting what the second 9 pick was. Before that, though, in 2013, they had the 3rd overall pick to get Otto Porter. Obviously, that's a miss. Before that, it was the 3rd overall pick to get Bradley Beal. A hit. You got to be in it to win it, though, and having the 9th overall pick compared to the 3rd overall pick, you're much more likely to find an all-star caliber, face of the franchise type of guy up at the top 3 compared to the second half of the lottery. Not only that, though, they did get off arguably the worst contract in the NBA. I knew he was making a big bag, Bradley Beal. I didn't realize it was the 2nd biggest bag in the whole league, only behind Jokic. Jokic deserves that. Obviously, just won the championship. You can run your whole team around him. No disrespect to Bradley Beal, he is nowhere near Nikola Jokic. And for him to be the 2nd highest paid NBA player, it's insane. They got that off the books. I know a lot of people saying they didn't really get much back. They got off the biggest contract in the books. They don't have to pay Bradley Beal $56 million in a single season. That's what they got in this trade. There were also rumors that they're trying to, pivot Chris Paul into a 3rd team to add into this trade. As of right now, recording this video, and probably when you guys see this video, there hasn't been a trade like that. If there is no one that wants to trade for Chris Paul, I assume they're going to waive him, and then he's going to go to either the Lakers, play with LeBron. I would love for him to be the backup PG for the Knicks. That would be really nice, Chris. I know you want to come. But, I'm sure he'll go somewhere. I've been seeing Spurs rumors to just kind of, get Victor Wembanyama accustomed to the NBA. That would be really cool. I think Chris Paul still wants to win a championship, though. If I had a bet on it, I would say he's either going to the Lakers or the Clippers back in LA. It also leads them down an avenue of what they want to do with Kristaps and Kyle Kuzma. I'm sure they're probably just going to let Kyle Kuzma walk. They could try to sign and trade him if that's possible. I do expect them to sign and trade Kristaps Porzingis. This is a more realistic. I know I was chatting about Chris Paul to the Knicks. I really do want Kristaps on the Knicks. I'll be fine with giving him Mitchell Robinson. Obi Toppin, you guys can have too. Let him finally flourish his wings. But, I think Kristaps would be nice in a sign and trade. They can try to, get a little bit more young guys, maybe some more draft picks, different stuff like that, and just fully commit to this tank. I am so happy that the Wizards finally did this. Obviously, tanking is not fun, believe me. I've lived it for a while as a Knicks fan. But when your team finally gets over the hump and can, be a competent basketball team, it just makes you enjoy it so much more. So shout out to Wizards fans as you start this journey through the tank. Now to give grades to each of these teams on this trade, starting with the Suns, I'm going to give them a B+. They really didn't give up much, and they got a player of Bradley Beal, former all-star caliber player, if you want to, give him that title. And they only gave up Chris Paul, who they were rumored to be wanting to waive and stuff. They didn't want him on the team. Landry Shamet, who I'm not going to lose sleep over Landry Shamet when I get Bradley Beal back. And then seconds and swaps. They didn't even have to give up an actual first-round pick. So that's very beneficial for them. But I couldn't give it anywhere in the A grade range because they are so strapped on depth and they're so top heavy with salary. I hate talking about injuries and stuff like that, but God forbid, knock on wood, one of those guys goes down. That's like a big chunk of their salary, a big part of their team, obviously. And it just goes to waste. Or if they're in the playoffs and there's a bad game by one of these guys, that's a big chunk of your team. You're really hoping on that 20 points, 25 points from which one of those it is. So for that reason, I can't give them anything higher than a B+. But overall, like I said, they didn't give up much. They got back Bradley Beal. It's going to help them get better as a team. If they fill out that depth, with certain guys and stuff like that, could go a little bit higher, but I'm happy with the B+ right now for the Suns. And then for the Wizards grade, I gave them a B, slightly below the Suns grade. Just because they got no real players back. Like I said, Landry Shamet, no disrespect to him. I don't really see him panning out and becoming a crazy all-star guy like Julius Randle or Lauri Markkanen. I don't think he's going to be in most improved player talks. And then with Chris Paul, I doubt that they get anything crazy in return if they do end up trading him or if they waive him. Obviously, they get nothing in return. And then on top of that, we don't know the confirmed pick equity that they're getting back. What second-round picks, what years, what swaps and years and stuff like that. How many of those? We don't know any of that officially yet, so that kind of hurts the grade a little bit. The only reason they're getting a B is because I think that this is the best thing for their franchise is to just commit to being bad, get rid of that big old contract of Bradley Beal, and just roll with the punches and tank. It's the smartest thing to do. If they got at least like a player or a draft pick that was, something good, I would give them a higher grade, but it's nothing. It was a business decision at the end of the day. They weren't really worried about what they were getting back. It was just how they want to move the franchise going forward. But this marks the official start of the offseason. We already got our first trade. The draft is going to be in a few days, actually, on Thursday. So, check out my reviews on that. I'm not a draft expert, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, but I will be giving my thoughts on certain guys going different places and stuff like that. Maybe there'll be some more trades. Maybe number 3 will get moved. Maybe Zion will get moved. Maybe a bunch of different things. Dame could get moved. I don't know. You guys don't want to miss it. It's going to be all here on this channel. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. In the description, there's links to all my social media, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.